My name is James, and today I'm going to be making a Christmas cake. The first thing we need to do is place all of our dried fruit into an appropriate size saucepan. So what I'm going to do is take my sultanas, prunes, got some chopped dates, currants, apricots, and raisins. And then we're going to add to that the grated apple, brown sugar, butter, I've got some Cointreau and some brandy. And then finally we'll add the spices, which is cinnamon, mixed spice, and some nutmeg. What we do now is heat these ingredients on induction setting 6. We're going to melt the butter and we're going to bring these ingredients up to a simmer. So the butter's starting to melt now, and it is important just to stir regularly while the butter is melting and all the ingredients are being heated. Okay, the butter is now melted and the fruit mixture is being simmered. It's probably been cooking for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I've probably stirred it around 2 to 3 times during this duration. Now what we do, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of bicarb of soda to the fruit mix. So we'll turn the heat off and we're going to add the bicarb. Now when you add the bicarb, what you will see the fruit expand. You will see a lot of aeration happening. That's why we've got an appropriate size pan, just to accommodate the expansion of the fruit mix. So add that all in one. Really important now, we really give it a good thorough stir. Smells amazing, smells absolutely amazing. And yeah, you can see the fruit just all expanding now. There we go, everything is completely mixed. This bicarb and this cooking process will soften the fruit. There we go. Step 1 is now complete. Now, what you're to do with this fruit mix is you need to let it cool. It's very important when we move on to the next step that this fruit mix needs to be cool. While it is cooling, what we can do is we can prepare our cake tin. So here I have a 22 centimeter round cake tin, and I've lined it with 2 layers of baking paper. And I've also brought the collar up above the top of the tin by about 5 centimetres. Now the reason we use 2 layers of baking paper is to prevent the outside of the cake actually starting to dry and burn during the cooking process. And the reason we have the collar going 5 centimetres above the cake tin is to actually reduce the amount of browning that the top of the cake will display. Also, what we can do now is we can preheat our oven. What I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat the oven on conventional heat, and I'm going to set a temperature of 130 degrees. There we are. Now, in your oven, please make sure that you've got the rack sitting on shelf position 2, because that's the shelf position that we're going to place the cake tin on. Now, I've chosen conventional heat, and that's the best function for cooking a very dense cake like this Christmas cake. Now once the fruit mix has cooled down, which we have here now, you can see it's nice and glossy and very plump. All the fruit is soft, absorbed all the liquid. There we are, ready to move on to the next step. Now what we're going to get a nice large bowl, and we're going to place in our cooled and cooked fruit mix. There we are. Now to this, what we're going to add is we're going to add our plain flour and our self-raising flour. Very important, we just sift these flours over the fruit mix. Here we are. We're also going to sift in the cocoa powder. Then to this we'll add our marmalade. And then finally, I'm going to add in our eggs. And then we stir thoroughly to combine all these ingredients. This is why you need a big bowl now. So we're just going to stir lightly to start with. If you go in there a little bit too vigorously to begin, you will wear some of the flour. So yeah, just mix so lightly. Break those eggs up. Let's get everything combined. We don't want any dough balls within here. So there we go. I nearly wore a bit of flour. I'm choosing to use a wooden spoon for this. You could use a spatula as well. I'll probably go to a spatula when I get all the mix out and put it into the cake tin. Let's make sure we get it all from the sides as well. There we go. So I don't know if you can see this here. Let's have a look at the texture. It's quite a firm texture. Now we need to very carefully place this into our prepared cake tin. All right, I'll just move to a spatula now. I'm just going to use the spatula just to get all the mix off my wooden spoon. And then I'm going to just start to spoon in this mix into the cake tin. It's not a mix you can pour in, it's one that you just gently have to spoon in, a little at a time. I'm just starting to smooth it down after I've added half the mix, just to make sure it's nice and even. And we'll get the remaining mix into there. Grab your spatula again, just to get all that mix up. Okay, there we are. It's all into the cake tin. And now what we can do, we can get a little crank-handled palette knife, just sitting in a little bit of water. So we'll just moisten it. What we're going to do is just, with the little palette knife, we're just going to smooth over the top. You can use your hands as well, but I find a palette knife works much better. Much cleaner too. There we go. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to decoratively place some whole blanched almonds just over the surface of the cake. There we go. All done. I think it looks very pretty. Anyway, you can choose whatever pattern you want on top of your fruit cake. I've just gone for just some circles. Looks nice. All right, so now our Christmas cake is ready to bake. And as I said earlier, it's going into a preheated oven, and I've set it on conventional heat at 130 degrees. I'm going to choose to cook it on shelf level 2. Now this Christmas cake is going to take anywhere from 3 to 3.5 hours to fully bake. After about 3 hours, I just take the cake out, place a skewer into the middle, and just ensure that the skewer comes out clean. Once the skewer comes out clean, your cake will be cooked and will be ready to cool. If your cake needs further time to cook, you can give it another 15 to 30 minutes. You'll probably find it will cook within the 3.5 hour mark. Okay, now, here is a finished Christmas cake. What you need to do is when your cake comes out of the oven, let it cool for around 2 hours in the tin. And then remove it, and then we're going to store it. All right, so what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to cut the cake in half. I just want to show you the inside, and then I'm going to cut a slice. So let's take our cake, carefully lift him onto my board. I'm using a serrated edge knife. Just going to cut him in half, like that. Let's have a look at this beauty. Oh yeah, amazing. There we go. That's the inside there of our beautiful Christmas cake. And we'll take a slice. We'll take a generous slice. Lovely. This is really rich and really moist. I've been feeding mine for about 4 weeks. It's amazing. There we are. Trim him up. There's a nice slice of Christmas cake. Thank you for watching. We'd love you to try this recipe at home. Be sure to take photos and share on Instagram and Facebook because we'd love to follow along.